Dear internet friends, we have failed. In 2015, we have sat on our hands as our ability to freely speak and freely use the internet has been attacked successfully, twice. We've sat by and done nothing. Now, my channel is normally about gear reviews and outdoor skills and that sort of thing, but this is a very important subject to me, mostly because I'm posting this video on the internet and you are also watching it on the internet. So if you are concerned about your freedom of speech and your ability to use the internet to learn information or for entertainment or for really any other purpose, then this is an important topic to you. Stay tuned. What color is this dress? That was the most popular topic last Friday in social media, in the news, and on the internet in general. Last Friday was also the day that the FCC passed regulations on net neutrality. Now, we have thoroughly been distracted from important issues, and the fact that we are looking at stupid issues opposed to something that really matters, that upsets me, but doesn't surprise me. I mean, we look at gossip magazines and we look at stupid things all the time and let important issues go by the wayside. So that bothers me a little bit. But we specifically used the internet to distract ourselves from people who are regulating the internet. Now, if you're not really familiar with net neutrality and kind of what it implies, there are lots of videos on it. Just look it up on YouTube. Now, the idea of net neutrality is a good idea, but much like the New York SAFE Act, the title is incredibly misleading. Safe sounds like a good thing, or neutral net sounds like a good thing, but in fact the regulations passed effectively do the exact opposite of what the title would imply. The internet is one of the most amazing creations we ever have. I personally believe the internet is more powerful than any government. And you can look at whole revolutions that have basically been sparked by the internet, or civil rights movements, or just great things that have been accomplished by the internet, or by people communicating via the internet. Now, net neutrality, for the first time, allows the government to regulate the internet. Now, the internet is a light-speed, amorphic communication tool, whether you use it to look at cat pictures or talk to your cousin in Italy or use it to access pretty much all of mankind's knowledge throughout history. The internet is amazing and works without government, doesn't need government to exist. But now the government says, no, we need the internet to be neutral. We want it to be fair. We want it to be an even playing field. And effectively what this does is it allows the government to regulate the internet. Even though it sounds like a good thing, it was a non-issue. We weren't really having instances of certain providers wanting to destroy a certain level of content or slow down a certain level of content. Maybe that happened on a small scale, but it was very quickly and easily corrected. Because in a capitalist society, no internet service provider would benefit from doing that. If a customer is unhappy about, oh, Netflix is running slow for me, they're just going to call up their internet provider and threaten to switch, or Netflix will start running faster eventually on their service provider. So the whole guise of net neutrality is under something that's really, at best, hypothetical, but probably not even a problem at all. Now, this effectively allows the government to regulate the internet. And this is from the FCC. So we don't exactly even know what was in this bill. It was passed and it's 332 pages of we don't know what was in this bill. In fact, the public wasn't even allowed to see any of it until it was passed. And it is just now starting to be leaked. I'm sure we'll be seeing more in the future. But it's definitely a case of there being a snake in the woodpile somewhere. Somewhere there's something in this bill that is not going to help us. In fact, it's probably going to bite us, and it's probably going to be pretty big. Just because the internet was free and was amazing and did not need government to exist. But now that we allow the government to regulate it, we are just putting our foot in our mouth and just embracing all kinds of future problems. Now, this is by the FCC, so this is by the commission that decides how much it costs to say bitch on the radio, or the same group that determines that I have to have a license to use this $30 walkie-talkie that I bought on eBay. So there are all kinds of things that that can potentially be really, really bad about net neutrality. That being said, please do some research, look up information on your own. I don't want to be just the only voice you hear about this subject, because it's a very important subject, and really it sets precedent for the government to regulate a lot of things on the internet. Now, I don't want to have a license to use the internet, or I don't want my content to have to meet a certain level of standards as required by the government to be on the internet, or I don't want my internet speed regulated based on what type of content I have, which ironically, again, is still the exact opposite of net neutrality. So there are all kinds of flaws with net neutrality. In addition to net neutrality, I mentioned that there were two big things this year that really affected our free ability to use the internet. So net neutrality is the big one, but the other one is Silk Road. I don't know if you were following those trials, if you know what Bitcoin is at all, or you even knew what Silk Road was. A lot of people did, a lot of people didn't. It was essentially a website that used Bitcoin as its main exchange currency and was pretty much the Amazon.com of Bitcoin. Now, a district court went after Dread Pirate Roberts, which was the screen name of the founder of Silk Road. Now, they didn't go after the people who were selling drugs on Silk Road. They didn't go after the people who were selling illegal weapons on Silk Road. They went after the founder. And thus they kind of established precedent that if the government doesn't like what you're doing, it can be illegal to create, run, and manage a website. Now, the reason they went after Silk Road, I believe a lot of it is because nothing on there was taxable. A lot of it, sure, was illegal in the US, but again, it was a website. It didn't entirely function in the US. It functioned throughout the world. In fact, it functioned on Bitcoin, which is a currency not managed by any nation state. It is a completely neutral currency. So it had no direct tie to the United States other than that's where the founder was from. So they went after the creator because they did not like the idea of somebody creating a website that could allow for illegal activity to exist or use a currency that couldn't be taxed. Now, the precedent of this is very dangerous. Not because I specifically endorse Silk Road or because I ever even used it at all, but because I am strongly against the idea of a federal court deciding whether a website can exist or not. The internet is a free place where free discussion can happen, where people can meet, where conversations can be had, and it does not need government. It does not need regulation. And any attempt to regulate it by the government hurts people's freedom of speech, hurts our ability to communicate freely, and further infringes upon our rights. Now, am I creating this video just because I'm upset about this, or just because I'm really disappointed at these rulings? No. I'm creating this video because a lot of people don't even know what happened. A lot of people are unaware of this, or they hear terms like net neutrality and decide, oh, that's a good thing. The government's got my best interest in mind. A lot of people have no idea what's actually going on, and that we are very easily and quickly allowing the government to encroach upon our free speech. And so I'm primarily making this video to serve as a warning. Now that we have the precedent from both Silk Road and the precedent from net neutrality, there will be more attempts to sabotage our freedom of speech, especially on the internet, coming. These were two very big ones that we let come through. So please be alert, be aware, and be on the watch for anything that could harm your freedom of speech, especially on the internet.